Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, village landlords could be facing property inspections and which village police officers were recognized for saving a life of a local resident.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. There was standing room only at the recent Oxford Village Council meeting. The hot topic is a proposal to enact a landlord rental ordinance. The ordinance would mandate registration and inspection of all rental properties in Oxford. A similar ordinance was proposed to the Village Council back in 2013. However, when the property owners and public opinion suggested that there were already sufficient regulations to address landlord issues and renter safety concerns on a state and county level, the 2013 proposal was shelved. Many property owners and residents are dismayed. How, after 3 years, is the push on again to enact a property rental ordinance when no other neighboring communities such as Clarkston, Lake Orion, Rochester, and multiple others do not? Debate over the proposed ordinance will continue at the Village Council meeting in October.
2 village police officers were recognized recently for saving the life of a 67-year young Oxford resident. Officers Paula Gretsch and James Owens were the first to arrive at the home, where they found the resident in full cardiac arrest. Before EMTs arrived, the officers administered CPR and were able to get a heartbeat again. Sergeant Mike Sowell awarded each officer with a life-saving ribbon for their quick actions. Congratulations.
And it's official. A 911 service contract with the Oakland County has been signed by the Village Council during a closed session. The contract begins January 10, 2017 and expires March 31st, 2018. Cost to the village will be $38,000 for 15 months of service. In return for closing the local village dispatch center, currently operated by the Oxford Village Police Department, the village will receive a one-time bonus of $50,000 from Oakland County's Courts and Law Enforcement Management Information System, known as CLEMIS or CLEMIS. How the money is spent lies strictly with the Oxford Village officials.
You will soon notice major construction starting to take place on East Burdick Street because Oxford developer Dave Weckl will be building a planned unit development, otherwise known as a PUD, recently approved by the Village Council. According to the plans, Weckl will first build a parking lot for the site, then will start the first of 3 three-story buildings. Once the parking lot is completed, it will be deeded to the Downtown Development Authority. This is the first time in a number of years such a major development has occurred in the village.
Let's talk sweetness, shall we? Last week, more than 30 people attended the 3rd annual Classic Car and Cupcake Challenge held at the Addison Township Public Library. Lakeville resident Lynn Beamer took first place with her entry, 3 Vices Cupcakes. The cupcakes are made from coffee, beer, and chocolate. Second place winner from Lakeville was Dawn Elsorelli with vanilla bean cupcakes. And Lakeville resident Lilia Sorelli, age 6, earned 3rd place with her Pretty Cupcakes. And by the way, since John Beamer from Leonard was the only registration for the Classic Car Contest, he pretty much won with his classic motorcycle, first time ever. Congrats to all the winners.
This piece of news concerns AT&T U-verse customers. Several months ago, AT&T announced that they will be providing DirecTV only. According to AT&T, current cable customers would be able to keep their U-verse television system, which is a cable system. It has been brought to our attention, however, that in recent months, AT&T is now increasing the bills of U-verse customers as much as $100 per month. Customers are then told the added charge would be removed from their bill if they switch from U-verse cable to DirecTV, leaving Charter as your only access to local programming. If you're unhappy with this imposed cable discontinuation, contact your state representative Brad Jacobson.
Police received a call from a man living on Lakesview Road. A money clip containing $280 was stolen from his parked car in the garage. The man told officers he caught a friend of his grandson's exiting the rear door of the garage and asked the young man, "What were you doing in the garage?" The kid replied that he was there because he thought the car radio was on and he was going to turn it off. Later, the man found his money clip lying on the garage floor, minus the money. That's when things finally dawned. He was robbed. Officers are currently searching for the suspect.
Likely story, huh? That's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us right here at OCTV Charter Channel 191 or AT&T Charter or Channel 99. I got it.
You got it. Coming up on OCTV, Oxford Sports with Jamie Hughes, and also catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. And don't miss don't miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
It's been one of those days. I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that.
Some heat in there.
Yeah, watch that curveball now. The pitcher's way ahead. And let him
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, China has launched its second space station, and a 2-member crew is to follow next month. The launch of Tiangong 2 is another step forward towards China's goal of self-sustaining space station by 2022, and a reminder of the nation's space prowess. Chinese officials announced that a Long March 2F rocket launched Tiangong 2 from China's Gobi Desert, coinciding with the Lunar Mid-Autumn Festival. Tiangong 2 will maneuver into orbit about 380 kilometers above Earth, then change to 393 kilometers in October when a Shenzhen 11 capsule arrives carrying 2 astronauts who will live on the station for 30 days. Despite its small size, Tiangong 2 is an important precursor to the larger space station that China aims to launch in the next 6 years. It's not all political posturing. Tiangong 2 carries 14 experiments, including atmospheric sensing instruments that can detect air pollution. In our next story, is it one of the worst wrong turns in the history of parenting advice? Telling people to delay the age they start their babies on solid food might be contributing to the rise in food allergies. Babies used to be given their first solids when they were around 4 months old. Many start showing an interest in food their family is eating around this time, as well as developing a larger appetite. But since the World Health Organization published a report about a decade ago saying that babies should be exclusively breastfed until 6 months, countries like the UK and US have recommended parents hold off until then. Not all UK parents follow the 6-month rule, but healthcare staff and parenting websites all tend to give out this advice. National Health Service in England leaflets and websites warn parents that if they start weaning earlier than 6 months, they must avoid potentially allergenic foods like peanuts and eggs. Yet, this is at odds with the latest research and advice from allergy specialists, say Elisa Abrams of the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, Canada, in a review published this week. Several studies now show that to avoid developing food allergies, it's better for babies to be exposed to food from 4 months old. A trial published this year, for instance, showed the best way to avoid allergy to peanuts, one of the most common food allergies, is to give them to babies from 4 months of age. Surveys and observational studies have suggested it could be beneficial, for infants, that is, to encounter wheat, egg, and cow's milk from an earlier age, while there are also concerns that delayed weaning could cause anemia due to a lack of iron in breast milk. One criticism of the World Health Organization's stance has been that it is more relevant to developing countries, where babies who are breastfed for longer are less likely to be exposed to contaminated water while they are at their most vulnerable. In developed countries, the risk of this is very low. But scientific thinking has changed too. Pregnant women used to be told to avoid eating peanuts until a 2013 study showed that this actually increased the likelihood of their babies having a peanut allergy. Is it time to change weaning advice? Despite her paper, Abrams sticks to the official Canadian Pediatric Society line to hold out until 6 months because of the benefits of breastfeeding for babies and mothers. And that could be the heart of the matter. The weaning question may be being distorted by efforts to raise breastfeeding rates. Because the official line is that babies should be given nothing other than breast milk rather than formula for the first 6 months of life, telling parents they can give solids during this time could dilute the message. Breastfeeding in the UK is so politicized that weaning has become drawn in, says one researcher who did not want to be named. Different advice is given by some other expert groups. The European Food Safety Authority says that weaning at 4 months is fine, and the British Dietetic Association says that while parents should aim for 6 months, they should use their own judgment as different babies have different needs. Sometimes they're starting to grab food out of your hand before 6 months, says dietitian and BDA spokesman Tanya Thomas. As a parent, you know when they're ready. We will know more later this year when the results from a large trial that addresses exactly this question will be published. In the meantime, perhaps new parents should be informed of the questions hanging over the 6-month rule. They're not babies after all. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Oxford Orient Fish helps provide emergency aid to the people of Oxford, Lake Orion, Addison, and Oakland Townships. One of the only self-served food banks in the state, Oxford Orient Fish provides once-a-month food supplies based on the size of the family. To donate, volunteer, or to find out more, call Oxford Orient Fish at 248-628-3933 or go to their website, oxfordorientfish.org. Oxford Orient Fish, neighbors helping neighbors.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. It was a fun game for a good cause as Lake Orion battled Oxford last week. It was a pink out, and the cause was cancer. It took on a local perspective, as Oxford School's PR person Danny Stublinski points out.
We have a few students actually that are battling with some pretty ugly illnesses, but we have one with cancer, Garrett Hill, and I had the pleasure of getting to know this young man when I worked at the middle school, and he is positively the most kind, sincere, genuine, hardworking kid you'll ever meet, and he is halfway through his treatments right now, and he goes to Children's Hospital, I believe at Mott.
How's he doing?
He's fighting. He's fighting hard, and he was able to come home. He got a 4-hour pass just to be able to make it to the game.
Wow.
Parker Fleming, one of our juniors, put his name on the back of his jersey to honor him. Each player had a name of someone that's either battled or is battling cancer to play for them and to honor them during the game.
So we've got some photos that were put up on the school Facebook page of the game, and what were you telling me about how many hits?
Yes, we put Parker and Garrett's picture up. After the game, everyone that was being honored got to meet with their player and exchange the jersey. So the player gave the person they were honoring the jersey, and so we had some photos of that, and we put it on Facebook, and sweet Garrett has already 12,200 likes.
Jamie will have more about the game in sports. We mentioned last week that we got some test scores back from the state recently. One of those had to do with the new M-STEP exam. For a while there was some talk of doing away with that. We asked our Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Ken Weaver, about that.
Yeah, we've heard some rumors in that, but now the push is going back the other way. There was a strong push last year to look at something different, but what we're now seeing is a real pushback the other way of saying, hey, listen, we just started with the M-STEP. To come up with some other measure at this point, you're gonna throw everything up into chaos basically again, and it's really hard to get anywhere if we keep changing the tests. So now after that big initial pushback as far as, hey, let's look at something different than the M-STEP, they're now going back the other way and saying, hey, maybe we need to stick with this a lot longer and give it a chance, iron out the glitches. They did a good job of getting the results back a lot quicker. We took the test in March, April, May, basically, and we got the results back by the end of August. So that was a good thing. We're still waiting on a few reports like the item analysis reports, which are very important for us. That tells us how kids did on specific items tied into standards. So those are really important reports for us to kind of judge where we're at with the curriculum, and so we can fine-tune and hone in on problem areas that we may see in the curriculum.
A school board candidate forum is on the agenda for September 29th at the Boulder Point Banquet Center in Oxford. It'll start at 7 p.m. 3 of the 4-year seats are open this year. All 9 of the candidates running are invited to participate. The forum is being hosted by our own Rod Charles. It will be broadcast on Oxford Community Television later. There's been a lot of talk about school millage vote that's coming up in November. The big emphasis is on the fact that it does not affect owner-occupied homes. Assistant Superintendent of Finance Sam Barna explains how they're going to get the word out.
Several-pronged approach. Right now we're currently doing in-house meetings with our parent-teacher organizations after school, basically just to get the facts out about the non-homestead millage. In addition to that, we're going to be doing some community forums in the next several weeks at different locations, and we'll be advertising those as well, both on our website and in other forums, to make sure that individual citizens can come out and basically just get an understanding if they're unclear about what the non-homestead 18 mills millage is all about. And again, this is a renewal and a restoration millage for non-homestead properties. So we're going to be doing those two things, but in addition to that, several of us in the district, several leaders, after school hours, not on school property, are assisting the parent groups, the community groups, specifically the one group that was formed recently called Citizens for Oxford Community Schools, and that is a ballot question committee. And so what we're going to be doing is working hand in hand with them after hours to assist them in just sharing the facts, putting boots in the ground, handing out flyers, doing whatever it takes so that the residents are really informed, very well informed about what the non-homestead millage is.
If this doesn't pass, some of the programs that we all appreciate in Oxford schools could be cut. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658 or give us an email at manager@occtv.org or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Back with you on Oxford News this week, and yes, time for sports, and I guess the best adjective for sports this week is possibly growth. Oxford rallies late, but slipped to a 1-3 loss on their contest as they traveled to crosstown rival Lake Orion. We're talking Oxford football. Lake Orion struck first and never looked back. The Dragons took a 24-14 lead by the halftime. That grew at 38-14 in the fourth quarter. However, Oxford started to rally back, 21 unanswered points, to come within 3 points at the end of the contest. Still way too late to pick up the win. Again, Oxford loses that one. They now go to 1-3 overall, and will have to wait a year to face them mighty Dragons down there. Congratulations to Green and White. I love the rivalry. It's a great rivalry. Wish we had blue and gold picking that one up this year, but again, 1-3. Hey, when you think of Oxford football, you think of all the past graduates. Bud Rowley probably had his eye glued to the screen on ABC, as, of course, his own Prescott Line, one of his many players. The 6-foot, 253-pound Oxford native was perfect for the running of Michigan State's offense against Notre Dame. Again, Oxford's resident Prescott Line was able to get to that starting position by going through SMU. Yes, he went to SMU in Texas and then was offered a slot in the Michigan State starting offense and saw plenty of camera time on Saturday night against the Notre Dame Prescott Line doing very well. And, of course, Michigan State picking up that victory on the national stage. It's been the first time since 2010. The score there, 36-28. Again, an Oxford grad and Michigan State faring well. The Oxford varsity tennis team battled but fell to Berkeley by a score of 6-2. Oxford had victories in the number 2 singles, Connor Romine, and also 6-4, 7-5, and from the number 3 singles, Trevor Wallace, by a score of 3-6, 6-3, 6-3. Oxford's 4 singles, Brock Hellig, fought hard but fell to a close 3-set match at 6-4, 3-6, 3-6. Oxford's next match took place on September 22nd at home against Flint Kearsley. The Oxford varsity boys tennis team fell against Royal Oak by a score of 8-0. Oxford had strong efforts with number 2 singles Connor Romine and number 3 singles Trevor Wallace and doubles team Drew Galley and Jonathan Robb. Oxford's next match will have the results on next week's broadcast. Jumping out to the soccer field, Oxford dropped to a OAA white matchup against Birmingham Seaholm 4-1. Oxford held strong in the first, giving a single goal. The second half was much different as the Maples put up 3 more goals, but Oxford would respond with a great one-time shot and goal from junior Miguel Magdaleno Rodriguez. That is a soccer name, I'll tell you. Senior keeper Eddie Diaz Vela made 11 saves on that night. We go out to the links. The Oxford Wildcats welcome Troy Athens to the Metamora Golf and Country Club. The Wildcats were led by Mackenzie and at 43. Lauren Yankee had 47. Cassidy Chasen had 54. Junior Abby Smiles carded at 63. The match medalist was from Athens, Shakia Jaha with 39. Well done, Oxford, at 207-191. Again, they lost that contest. The Wildcats lost a close match against at the Stony Creek and Twin Lakes Golf Course. They lost that by only 4 points, 198-194. Senior Kenzie Chasen led the team with 41. Junior Lauren Yankee shot a 49, and the freshmen are still working their game out. Again, we'll have results on the golf team next week. Want to mention this. This was a victory for Oxford. JV girls volleyball picked up a great win against Birmingham Seaholm. That game will be on this weekend. You want to watch out. It was one of the few victories Oxford had this week. JV girls varsity volleyball. Also, a young new soccer player. We'll have to look out for him. Grayson Stiles. And you say, you know the name? Well, of course, Terry Stiles, who worked here at the station, our producer, and it's her grandson. He was able to score and also block on the goal. Grayson Stiles, the only problem I see here is he's in Lake Orion. We're going to have to entice the young man to come here and get the blue and gold on and work for Oxford. Again, congratulations to Grayson Stiles and the Stiles family on their young soccer player. The passing this week of a Detroit TV legend, John Kelly, inspired me to bring this book in. I had a chance to actually meet Mr. Kelly many, many years ago. Early on, when I was starting to get into broadcasting, we'd go down to the Kelly and Company show. And upon leaving one time, Mr. Kelly offered me a tour of the WXYZ TV station, where I got to meet a lot of the personalities, and actually took me upstairs to the radio area of WXYZ. Had a chance to meet Mr. Dick Purton for the first time, and at the end of it all, they took some time for this inspired upcoming broadcaster, signed a book, and again, I will always keep it in my memory. And just thought of this the other day when I heard that Mr. Kelly had passed at the age of 88. Again, one of the many TV legends of the Detroit area and WXYZ. Again, our thoughts with the Kelly family and the WXYZ family. And never underestimate how you can mentor somebody, as I was very well mentored after I had left this TV studio that day. Check it out, the Oxford website, theoxfordathletics.org. It'll keep you up to date with all your athlete in the Oxford system. It's oxfordathletics.org. It has schedules, times, scores, and news events about Oxford athletics. While you're on the web, check our website out, OCCTV.org. You can get it on your computer, iPad, or phone, wherever you choose to watch. You can watch any one of our shows. Check it out. We have sports coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I urge you to stay tuned. That JV volleyball game, the ladies just knock it out. Going to want to watch that. OCCTV.org. That's it. I am out of here. That's sports. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that. Rescue stray dogs for new families. But they need your help. Become a volunteer at Canine Stray Rescue League of Michigan. Take dogs for walks, help them socialize with others, and help them get adopted. Fill out an application and help a family add a new member today.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, the U.S. Postal Service has named 6 companies as finalists in a competition to design its delivery vehicle of the future. As part of the process, the Postal Service will divide $37.4 million among 6 companies. Together, they will produce about 50 prototypes for the NGDV, or Next Generation Delivery Vehicle. The finalists come from a group of 15 companies selected in a bidding process that began last year. The 6 are AM General, LLC of South Bend, Indiana, Carson Automotive Sanayi v. Ticaret AS of Bursa, Turkey, Mahindra North American Technical Center in Troy, Michigan, Oshkosh HD LLC of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Utilimaster Corporation of Bristol, Indiana, and VT Hackney Incorporated of Washington, North Carolina. In addition, the Postal Service has announced a separate request for proposals for commercial off-the-shelf right-hand drive delivery vehicles. A Postal Service spokesman said there has been no determination how many different vehicles the service may employ. Regarding the 6 companies, the suppliers will have approximately 1 year to develop and produce their prototypes, the Post Office said in a statement. The Postal Service then plans to test the vehicles during a period of approximately 6 months in a range of different climates, topography, population centers, and delivery environments. The tests will help demonstrate the ability of the proposed designs to meet operational needs, including the need to deliver to mailboxes across the United States. And in Canada, a tentative labor deal with General Motors of Canada shows the onus Canada's Auto Workers Union will put on new investment in upcoming talks with Ford Motor Company and Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, the union head said on September 20th. The deal includes pension concessions by the union, Unifor, and a rare shift in work from Mexico to an Ontario facility, averting a strike that would have shut down some of GM's Canadian plants and affected some top-selling vehicles such as the Chevrolet Equinox. Under pattern bargaining, the first deal typically sets the tenor for negotiations, and a second target company will be selected shortly. The GM deal, reached early September 20th, will ensure hundreds of millions in investment, Unifor said, including new jobs and higher wages for new hires. Union members will have voted on the deal by September 25th. The union agreed to a pure defined contribution plan for new workers, the first such plan under the master agreement that covers most assembly workers at GM, Ford, and FCA. Veteran employees have defined benefit pensions, and those hired since 2012 have a hybrid plan. Jerry Diaz, president of the union, did not say what vehicle or models would be built in Oshawa, but said the plant would become capable of producing both cars and trucks. It now only builds cars. He said some engine production would shift from Mexico to St. Catharines, the first time he can remember production moving from Mexico to Canada. A 4-year contract covering 20,000 Canadian auto workers at the 3 automakers expired September 19th. Only GM workers were in a legal strike position as of September 20th. And at Chevrolet, General Motors says the 2018 Chevrolet Equinox will be shorter and lighter than the model it replaces and will be the first compact crossover offered in the U.S. with a diesel engine. The redesigned Equinox will be 400 pounds lighter than the outgoing product, which is GM's second most popular U.S. vehicle. It will also be 4 inches shorter while adding 3.5 cubic feet of interior space when it reaches North American dealerships in the first quarter of next year. The crossover gains numerous active safety features, full flat rear seats, and a 10% tighter turning radius, GM said. The 2018 Equinox will be the first Chevrolet sold in North America with a fully turbocharged lineup of engines. Buyers can choose from a 1.5-liter turbo, a 2-liter turbo mated with a 9-speed automatic transmission, or a 1.6-liter turbo diesel that GM estimates will achieve 40 miles per gallon in highway driving. The diesel will help Chevy as it begins selling the Equinox in about 115 new markets versus North America only today. The last full redesign of the Equinox was in 2009. It was freshened last year, but its recent sales show the need for more updates to keep up with newer entries in one of the industry's hottest segments. It outsells everything else in GM's lineup except the Chevrolet Silverados and single-handedly surpasses the entire Buick brand. GM has sold about 1.5 million of the current generation Equinoxes in the U.S. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.